What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to be looking at another big board that I created. Hopefully, I'm sitting in front of it. Yes, I'm not standing today because I tried to stand and for some reason I had the camera all jacked up. I already did this a couple times, but I had the camera jacked up and you couldn't see my face. Like, half of it you could, the other half you were just like looking at this. It was really awkward. So I was like, okay, let's not do that. Let's just sit down, chill, okay? And I'll point at him from my seat, like a teacher does. Like, like I'm tired. Like, what if I just went for a run? You guys don't know. Maybe. I don't know what I'm getting at here. Let's look at this. We're going to be looking at my free agency big board. Now, this one's a little bit different than the mock draft big board because it's free agency. But other than that, it's not much different. I'm going to be looking at my top free agents now. This is the 1.0 version. This will probably update, especially after you guys give me your thoughts and comments below, because I probably will adjust my opinions based on what you guys say, because you guys do have some really good points that I don't even think about. So for right now, this kind of what we're looking like. It's almost like a rough draft. It's only 1 through 10. So we'll add on to this as we continue to go, kind of like we're going to do with the draft one. We have 1 through 20. We'll continue to add on to that as well, and as we get news, maybe things will change around. But as for now, here's my big board, 1 through 10. Let's get it started. There it is. Boom. The mock draft. The free agency big board for the Detroit Lions. These are our top targets through free agency. Now, I understand a lot of these guys are going to be very expensive, and you're probably like, hey, man, we might not even get one of these guys because they cost too much money. I understand that. As we go through this, it'll probably get cheaper and cheaper as we go through it with the free agents. Right now, these are the top ones, so we're not even really concerned about money. These are just the guys that could really help out our team, and as you guys look at it, you can see a lot of very talented players up here. One thing you will notice are a lot of trenches players. A lot of trenches. I'm really big in the trenches and building in, out. Starting in and then building out, and I think the Lions could use help there on offense and at defense. So let's start this thing off at the very, very tippity top. We have Joe Thuney, the offensive lineman from the New England Patriots. I really like Joe Thuney. I feel like he's probably the best offensive lineman free agent prospect for us because of his health. There's definitely some other good offensive linemen out there, but his health is awesome, and that's what's a really good thing. This is a guard, not a tackle, so that's also helpful because we're probably going to be losing Graham Glasgow, which means that Joe Thuney could help replace a hole that would be left in our offense. If you have offensive tackle, that's great, but we do have offensive tackles. If you want to try to improve that spot by moving Rick Wagner or Taylor Decker, that makes sense, but for the guard spot, we actually may just need one. Like, there is no, oh yeah, we can just kind of rock how it is. No, we really can't. We need to find a replacement, and I think Joe Thuney is the best option out there from New England. He was given a 77.4 Pro Football Focus rating, which is obviously very, very good. And over 1,100 snaps, he only gave up 1 sack on the entire season. Now, he is a guard, so that's a little bit, you don't give up as many sacks as a guard than as a tackle. Usually, that's kind of how it works out. But that's still really, really good. Over 1,100 snaps and only 1 sack allowed. One of the best offensive linemen in the game. He's coming available. And obviously, he's a Patriot. So you guys, I know y'all love when we pick up them Patriots. I know you guys like that. So he comes in at the very top. Now, hopping in number 2, right down the list, we have Javon Hargrave, the defensive lineman out of Pittsburgh. Now, I really like Javon. I've been high on him for a long time when it came to free agency, but I really liked Chris Jones. Like, he was my guy when it came to defensive tackles, but then he got franchise tagged, and I was like, wow, that stinks. But now Javon Hargrave is kind of the top guy for me at defensive tackle. Now, there's definitely other options out there, but I do like Javon Hargrave because of the production that he has. He doesn't have the same pressure that Chris Jones was able to get, but recently he has really come onto the scene, and as a young interior defensive lineman for Pittsburgh, he's shown a lot of good things that I really want in Detroit. Now, he's not as versatile as some other defensive linemen, but I don't think we need a super versatile guy like him because, Snacks Harrison wasn't super versatile, but he could show how big of a difference it was with a great defensive interior presence like Snacks Harrison when he was balling out to when he was not balling out and how much the defense struggled. Now, I'm not going to say all of it was his fault, but I'm going to say it does really have a big impact on our defense of how the interior of the defensive line looks. So Javon Hargrave could definitely help out and be a guy that we can lock up for multiple years. He had 10.5 sacks in his last 2 seasons, over 109 tackles in his past 2 seasons. He has the stats to back it up. He can do exactly what we need, and that's why he comes in second on the big board for now. Hopping into number 3, we have Corey Littleton. Now, you may be surprised to see a linebacker this high. Like a linebacker, I need linebacker, Corey Littleton? Really? Yes, Corey Littleton, really. I really do like the thought of bringing in Corey Littleton. Obviously, I love Isaiah Simmons as well. The prospect of Isaiah Simmons is ridiculous. A lot of it has to do because of his ability to cover. Now, I'm not saying Corey Littleton can cover like Isaiah because I don't think he can, but Littleton is that dude in the NFL that really can cover currently. He's a pretty good size when it comes to the linebacker position, and he can cover very, very well. One of the best coverage linebackers in the NFL. And we know that's been a problem for the Detroit Lions for some time now. It's not just a recent thing. It's been a problem for a while. Being able to cover tight ends or running backs is something that a lot of teams struggle with. Corey Littleton can really help you out in that aspect. And not only that, he's not just going to give you a guy that comes in to cover. No, he can also play linebacker on every down because he is also a very good tackling linebacker as well, which is super important, right? So he's going to get the big money, the man out of the Rams. He had 3.5 sacks last season to go along with 5 interceptions in his last 2 seasons. Pair that with 134 total tackles last season, which is actually crazy. I mean, Jared Davis hit 100 one year, and that was ridiculous. He hit 134 last season. Corey Littleton did. So Littleton, I feel like he's a good scheme fit. He can help out when it comes to covering from that linebacker position. So that's why he comes so high in the list. Now, hopping outside of the top 3 at number 4, we have Jack Conklin. So the offensive tackle here. Now, this one could definitely be lower on the list. I went with him pretty high. You could lower him. Jack Conklin's kind of just a replacement for Wagner or Decker, but that's pretty much it, right? If you're replacing Wagner, you can go get Conklin, but that's really all he's going to do. If you keep Decker and Wagner for another year, then it really doesn't make sense to go get Conklin, right? It just wouldn't make sense to spend your money there. But I do think he would be a huge upgrade at tackle position, and knowing that our priority this offseason really should be protecting Stafford. Yes, the defense needs upgraded, but protecting Stafford is priority number 1. And Conklin, one of the best offensive tackles in the game to help against some of those really good edge rushers. We know there's a lot of good edge rushers in the NFC North between the Bears, the Vikings, the Packers, a lot of good teams, right? The Smiths, it's such a weird word to say. The Smith for the Green Bay Packers, they got some really good edge rushers there. Look at the Vikings, they got some really good edge rushers, more downline, but really good edge rushers there. When you look at the Bears, Khalil Mack, right? There's good edge rushers everywhere. Khalil Mack might not be there next year, I'm not sure. But either way, a guy like Jack Conklin could definitely help protect Matthew Stafford, and that's why he comes in at number 4. Now, hopping in number 5, to round off the top 5, we have Shaquille Barrett, the edge rusher out of Tampa Bay. Now, there's one concern with Shaquille Barrett, and it's that his production really wasn't there until last season. He was a consistent, about 4-sack type of guy. I would say about every year he was getting about 4 sacks, which isn't awful, but it's not good being known as a pass rusher. However, last season, he took pass rusher to another level with 19.5 sacks. He was in a play for Defensive Player of the Year. 19.5 sacks is not normal. That's just not a thing. Like you look at linebacker, like, oh yeah, it's pass rusher. Oh, how many sacks you got? Like 7? No, 19.5. What? 19.5? That, to me, that's just like, wow, that's insane. Now, again, he is young, but it's a little bit concerning to some people that his production wasn't really there. And, so I think there's definitely some concern, but he is still a heck of a player, and he showed it last season. And Detroit Lions need to get pressure more than ever. They play the defense that's kind of similar because he can play on the edge in our defense. The defense that we play, we can use some edge rushers. He can cover a little bit. He did have 1 interception last season, so I think he would be a solid player for us. Well, he'd actually be a really good player for us for the money that we're spending. But yeah, Detroit Lions are really serious about upgrading that front 7. Maybe he's an option, maybe like a sleeper option. I don't know. I think people would definitely have that lower on their list. Having at number 6, I have James Bradberry. Another surprise. You guys are like, what the heck are you doing with this list? I know, James Bradberry. Who in the world is that? Some people may not even know because I don't really talk about him. From Carolina, he is the cornerback, and I think he's a very, very good prospect for the Detroit Lions. Why? Because of his age. This is a guy that I would have no problems with giving a huge deal. There's a lot of cornerbacks out there that I would not give a big deal, like Chris Harris, maybe Byron Jones. I could see Byron Jones a little bit. Not a huge deal because he is not young, but he's not super old. There's a lot of guys out there that I'm looking at. It's like, 29, 30, Logan Wright. Like, it's like, okay, I don't know if that's worth a big deal. But James Bradberry isn't that. He's like 26 years old. He's one of the better cornerbacks in the league. I wouldn't say he's the best cornerback in the league. I would definitely say Slay's better. But he does have that time to improve because he is so young. And he shows a lot of really good technique and hand skills, which is great. I think James Bradberry is a guy that you could sign, especially if you trade away Darius Slay for like a 4-year deal. And you could lock him up for a while and not even worry about that number 1 cornerback position as he would continue to improve. So that's why he comes in at number 6. And we got Corey Undlin here. So maybe, he can help out a little bit. 3 interceptions last season, 65 total tackles. And in 2018, he was actually really, really good. However, in 2019, he only allowed a 59.8 passer rating, which is obviously phenomenal. So I just want to point that out. Having at number 7, we have Justin Simmons, the safety out of Denver. And this guy is known as a ball hawk. That's what he is. You want safeties for certain reasons. He's a ball hawk, okay? He's a guy that's going to make plays in the back end, which we definitely need. Looking at our secondary group, is very young. Justin Simmons is not super old, which is great because he was signed to a big deal. Same time, he does have that experience, and he has shown that, hey, he can make plays in the back end, which, again, we need. We need guys to get us some turnovers. We didn't have a lot of turnovers last season for us, but a guy like Justin Simmons could definitely help out. He would probably take a little bit away from Will Harris. However, we do run a lot of 3 safety sets anyways, so he could just kind of pair with Will Harris. Will Harris could be like that, guy in and out, but Justin Simmons is an absolute beast, okay? He came up with 4 interceptions last season, 133 total tackles, and 2 sacks. He came up with 93 total tackles last season, 15 passes defended, and 4 interceptions. Like I said, ball hawk. That's what he is. And, that's why he's coming so high. Out beginning number 8, we have Joe Schobert, the linebacker out of Cleveland. Now, Joe Schobert is that bright spot on Cleveland, right? I think you think of a lot of Cleveland players, you're like, oh, gosh, I don't want that. But no, Joe Schobert's actually a really good player that Cleveland's probably going to let go, which is going to open a big hole for them to get another linebacker. But, man, he's a good player. Okay, Joe Schobert can play off ball, and I think he can play a little bit inside as well. I don't think, I think, you look at him and it's like, yeah, he could definitely play inside. So I think he has the versatility, which is great, but he also has the numbers. This guy can not only be a tackling machine, he also showed last year that he can play coverage very, very well, which again, to me, kind of sells him. It's like, okay, yeah, he can tackle, that's awesome, but can he cover? Yes, okay. Now I'm liking the prospect. And Joe Schobert showed that a lot last season with his stats. He had 133 total tackles, 4 interceptions, 2 sacks. Joe Schobert does a lot of great things, and our linebacker group could definitely use an upgrade if we don't get Simmons especially. So I think Joe Schobert's a great option. That's why he comes in at number 8. Well, everybody, I have some unfortunate news with the list, all right? So as we're going through this, I recorded this video a while, but as I'm looking through it, I found out that Brandon Sheriff and the Washington Redskins are working on a contract extension so they can avoid the franchise tag. Awesome. Because I already put him at number 9. So next time it's going to be changed. Next time we'll change the list for sure, especially if it does go through. It doesn't mean 100% that it will happen, but it's pretty likely that it's going to happen with the contract extension. So, assuming that it does, next time we will have a different number 9. I guess we'll just move it up. I guess we move DJ Reader to 9 and put Art Armstead at number 10. I'm sorry. So, the rest of this video, I'm going to just be talking like, hey, DJ Ritter's at 10, but I'm just kind of hopping in here while I'm editing. I'm sorry. I didn't know this was going to happen. But yeah, there you go. Joe Thuney's even a bigger prospect now because we're probably going to lose out on Brandon Sheriff. So I'm going to hop out and continue to edit, but sorry about that, guys. Enjoy the video. And now hopping at number 10, to round out the top 10 of our big board so far for free agency, we have DJ Reader. DJ Reader's a heck of a player, but hasn't really shown it when it comes to production. But I do believe he will get there at some point as he's a very young defensive tackle. Again, we need a replacement for Snacks Harrison. DJ Reader could be that guy. Listen to this. His Pro Football Focus grade was 86.7. 86.7. Put that in perspective. Joe Thuney, who's a great offensive lineman, had a 77.4 and 86.7. What? That's unheard of. That's insane. And the stats aren't even that great. 2.5 sacks, 52 total tackles, 13 quarterback hits, not bad, but nothing really insane to have that great of a focus grade. He's a very good player. And I think when you put him with some other talent like Trey Flowers, he may not be the guy getting the numbers, but he's going to open up Trey Flowers, or he will be the guy getting numbers because Trey Flowers will kind of open him up. He's a very good player, and we need a run stopper, and he can do both, and that's why he comes in at number 10. Now, there are definitely other players you can put on here. I really am curious to see who you guys would have put on here. I'll probably change this around, so I don't think it's just set in stone because none of this is. Obviously, free agency hasn't started yet, but I do think this is a good idea. A lot of people do draft big boards, but I thought a free agency big board would be another way to go about it. I thought that'd be a pretty cool idea. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Who would you add? I think there's definitely some honorable mentions like Arik Armstead, like as you guys can see at the bottom here. I didn't put him on here, though, because, I feel like he's gotten a lot better with the help around him. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. He could definitely be on the 10 through 20. So, let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.